What's up? How you doing? Hope you're well. We're taking a look at the 2.3 chopping logs ready, set, and go. We'll do some problems in each of these sections. I hope you're having a spectacular day. We're rewriting the following expressions with an exponent instead of a radical. Some general understanding here you should know is that if you have some term like x and a root with, let's say, b as the type of root, could be a square root or cubic root or quartic root, and you have some exponent in here above a, you're allowed to do the following. You can keep x on its own. You make a your numerator and b your denominator. You can do that. It's totally safe. Trust me. So here you could rewrite this because it's x to the first power in a fifth root. You can keep x on its own. 1 goes up, 5 goes around. This is as good as it can get. Pretty simple. 2 is going to be similar. 3 is going to be similar. 4 can be cleaned up a little bit more, and I'll show you how. Because you have 8 times r to the 6th power, and you're taking the cubic root of that. So really, it's just 8 to the first power. So you could pop in and say, hey, this is 8 to the 1/3 power, and then r to the 6/3 power. It's cool. This is like 3 out of 5 Diet Cokes of an answer, but you can take this further because this is trying to get the cubic root of 8, and we know that there is some number that when multiplied by itself 3 times gets you 8, and it's 2. So this could really simplify to 2. R can now simplify to being squared. So this is about as good as it can get. So this is like pretty decent. I'll give it 3 stars. This I'd give 5 stars though. Capiche? Makes sense. 6, you might want to clean up a little bit before you start throwing that 3 around. You may want to consider squaring this 8x. So that really, you're taking the cubic root of 64 x squared. Because 8 squared gets you 64, x squared gets you x squared. And then in here, maybe you want to doll this up a little bit. Acknowledge that this is 64 to the first power. So you could say it's 64 to the 1/3 power, x to the 2/3 power. And this is cool, but there's definitely a number that when multiplied by itself 3 times equals 64. Do you know what that number is? It's 4. So you can take this further and say that this is just 4x to the 2/3 power. Capiche? Makes sense. Over here, you can't do a ton with this cubic root of 9, but maybe we can. I mean, you could say that it's 9 to the 1/3 power, and then you could say that this is b to the 8/3 power. Maybe you're inclined to rewrite this 9 as 3 squared, which I'll allow it. That's safe. To the 1/3 power, b to the 8/3. You can't do too much with that. So I guess if you were really feeling up for simplifying this, you could say that it's 3 to the 2/3 power, b to the 8/3 power. And I'd say that this is pretty simplified, but even if you just left this, I imagine that would be okay. You might be curious, is there a number that when multiplied by itself 3 times gets you to 9? And you could just say that it's just the cubic root of 9 because there's not really too much you can do. Simplify that. So for 8, you'll probably want to rewrite this as 25 times 3. The square root of 75, we don't really know that, but we can do some damage and simplify this. Square root of 25 is just 5. This leaves you with square root of 3 and square root of x to the 6th power. And this you can take a little bit further, drop that radical, notice that it's root 2, and you could say that it's 3 to the 1/2 power times x to the 6 over 2 power, which is really just going to be 3 with that. So final work, this I'd say is the most established qualified answer. 5 times 3 to the 1/2 power times x cubed. Capiche? Makes sense. Hope you're doing okay so far. And then we saw in the classwork that logs like this can be rewritten, because although this has a fifth root of 3 as your argument for log base 3, we know that we can rewrite this exponent to what? How can we rewrite this fifth root of 3? Which is saying you could rewrite it to 3 to the 1/5 power. And we saw the rule in the classwork that your exponent on your argument can swing to the front and multiply with what's left over. It's going to be a disaster. Look at that. Hold on. All right, we're back. Everybody does bloopers sometimes, even me. So you can take this further. 1/5 times log base 3 of 3. Log base 3 of 3 is just 1. So it's 1/5 times 1. It's just going to be 1/5. Capiche? Makes sense. Here, you can say that this is really going to be 343. And that's an alter ego to just 7 to the 3rd power. And you're taking the 5th root of that with log base 7. So this you can rewrite. It's totally safe. You can do this. Trust me. You can rewrite this as your argument now of 7 to the 3/5 power. Your exponent of 3/5 can pop to the front. So this is really 3/5 times log base 7 with argument 7. Base matches the argument. So this is really just 3/5 times 1. So your answer here is 3/5. Capiche? Makes sense? Sound good? Yo, these are so fun in the set. You have some type of log that's given to you, and you're just trying to find other ways that you could express what's happening. We saw in the classwork that if we have log of 2 terms multiplying, we can separate them and say that it's log of A plus log of B. This is a property you should be very familiar with and almost memorize at this point. We also saw a property where if you have, let's make it X, why not? We're capable of a quotient. So if you have a fraction as your argument, you can rewrite this as log X minus log Y. And of course, giving respect to the base that should be sticking around. Capiche? Makes sense? So a few different ways that you could rewrite this log. And I know you could just kind of think out, all right, well, log base 3 is going to be like point here, point here. You'll have a point at 1/3, -1, and so on and so forth. And I get that. Could do that. You can also think about how it's shifting downwards. That might be something to think about. How many shifts downwards did it go? Hopefully you're saying that it went down 3, which makes sense because if you rewrite this, you could say that this is going to be log base 3 of X minus log base 3 of 27. Log base 3 of 27 is just 3. So lo and behold, this matches what we had in mind. You could also think about this, and this is like bonus points right here. I'll even write bonus. Another alternative approach you could think for this is that it's log base 3, no doubt, but you could think of it as 1/27 plus log base 3 of X. And since this is an argument that's a fraction, you can write it as a negative number. It's -3 plus log base 3 of X. So you have a few approaches you can now take. You could have looked at the visual. That would have been okay. You can now break apart the log to see if there's a vertical shift, maybe even a horizontal shift, but mostly vertical shifts will be talked about. Capiche? Makes sense? This is going to be shifting up 1 unit. Hopefully you can agree with me on that. All these points went up like Tuesday. You have some options here that are given that They're claiming they might be able to be rewritten as log base 10 of 40x, and we'll do 2 of them. Some of these might be tough, and you might have to be strategic on these, but you're totally capable. So you have log base 10 of x plus log base 10 of 5 plus log base 10 of 8, and you're really just being asked, does it match to this through the wizardry of logs? Well, let's try it, because you keep your base of 10, and if you're adding all of these logs, it's really just multiplying your arguments together. And 5 times 8 is going to give you 40. And x is along for the ride. So doesn't this match? You could say, yes, it does. Maybe we can find one that doesn't match. That would be pretty cool, right? We have this scene here. This is written as just 1, but I kind of like the idea of saying that it's log base 10 of 10, because that's another way you could write 1, isn't it? And if you were to combine that with everything that's left over, that like can't be cleaned up as easily. You could say that this is all adding. And for your argument, 4 times 10 is 40, isn't it? Then if you multiply with that x, doesn't this match up? It does, yes. That's a good thing. You'll be asked to take a look at the other options and see, are those going to simplify back to log base 10 of 40x? Some will, some won't, but take your time and try those when you get a chance. My gosh, these are so simple. They're so chill. I just watched Spider-Man. No, I didn't watch Spider-Man. I'm playing the Spider-Man game right now. And I was kind of thinking how you kind of have these logs set up here. And you have a base. And let's say you have someone in distress here. And this person that's over here is the enemy. Give him some evil eyebrows. You can kind of think of this as Spider-Man. Spider-Man's like, yo, I'm chilling. It's so cool. When you're going from log form to exponential form, you can think Spider-Man shoots a little web, grabs onto here, swings out to here, and what do? They fight this bad person. They uppercut them. So Spider-Man swinging, goes here, 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 uppercuts them. And then you could say that your trapped civilian is now on their own. Maybe a little sad, but now it equals Spider-Man that had upcut this enemy that was here. And that enemy is now chilling up a little bit higher, maybe a little bit sad. So you can kind of do the same thing here. Say 2 swings back, 9 drops like it's hot. You claim it's log base 2 of 512. That's your log form. So cool. You don't even have to evaluate anything. You're just rewriting the form. Here, 2/3 is your base. Swing it back. -1 drops like it's hot. Log is here. Your base is going to be what again? 2/3. And your argument is going to be this. Capiche? Makes sense? Like, these are so simple. We've done these a bunch. And I guess we'll do one of these just for kicks. You got your base of 2/5, your Spider-Man, Spider-Person, swings out. Hero that it is, 2/5, pushes up the 3, uppercuts it. And your civilian that needs saving, 8 over 125 is on its own. And I guess put parentheses around this too, so we see that it's not just 2 being cubed, it's also 5. Capiche? Makes sense? Sound good? Thank you so much for watching. Take care, brush your hair.